Hey there, Adrienne Elise here. Welcome to day 13 of 21 Days of Presence. So we're really moving into a new chapter of our portal here, leading towards the solstice and the total solar eclipse. Today is a big day because Chiron is turning direct. And it's really powerful that Chiron has been in an exact square with Jupiter, and we've been feeling this for the last week. And isn't that quite a message? It's almost like Jupiter is holding space as Chiron turns direct. So what that means when these bigger planets turn direct, we feel them more as they're turning retrograde and direct. And it represents a new direction, heading towards new territory and momentum energy. In this case, we're talking about moving into a new chapter around deep healing. Chiron is the wounded healer. It has to do with deep wounds that we have procured over lifetimes. It's not just, you can't get it in one life. So Chiron is like a whole pattern, deep pattern of woundedness. And in Aries, we're talking about wounds of the self. And what's happened to so many of these souls is that they've been beaten down metaphorically, physically, actually, emotionally in past lives. And perhaps that's the agenda behind that energy, is to disconnect you from who you really are. And that's where we're talking about with Chiron and Aries, the wounds of the self. It's like, do you even know who you are? Do you even feel you deserve to be who you are if there is something that you are that you're not, that so a lot of these souls know on some level deep inside that there's something more to them, way more. And yet total disconnection from this. And this is like, it's interesting, Chiron and Aries right now, because this is a global wide pandemic, it seems like, of the technology of our times, the agendas of our times, kind of a deliberate energy of disconnecting us from our true self. And technology, everything, just the distractions of this world, and it's almost like a full-time job to stay connected. And yet souls like you know that you don't have a choice in that way, because you've been, you're on the healing path, right? And so it's every day, just remembering, the message coming through is around that we are healing many lives before we can start living in this lifetime. Sometimes it takes a whole life to heal these other lives so that we can start living and connect to that true self, right? So is that the biggest danger? Is that the biggest threat to the matrix of control? Is us coming into and remembering who we really are? No wonder it's so hard to connect to that part of ourselves, And when you go to do that, you have to, of course, disconnect from all of the people around you and energies around you who have been telling you who you are. So it's really common to have a karmic group of people in your life that have been with you through lifetimes, that have been painting a false picture for you to make sure that you don't come into the power that lies within you. And so then we have to go through this period of deep isolation and loneliness and feeling like just disconnected, right? And that's almost like a necessary place on the journey to get back to who you really are. And so many souls are here right now, especially this time of year with the holidays and all this really intense astrology. And so with Chiron turning direct, it's like a big bloom of these deep psychic issues around, like, Aries also has an energy of wanting to fight for the self, the warrior. It's ruled by Mars. This is a powerful and potent energy for us right now in this time that we live, because there's been such this kind of epidemic of passiveness and rolling over and playing dead, right? And Aries is like, it doesn't, Mars has a bad rap, like it has to be violent, it's a warrior, but no, it's about our assertiveness, our ability to stand up for ourselves, our ability to act in the world. And it's interesting that one of the things that came through the Edgar Cayce readings is that there's karma that's exactly opposite, kind of like where you did something to somebody and then you're going to experience that same thing, right? But then there's this other kind of karma, mostly common in these types of souls, where you allowed a pattern to happen. You didn't stand up for yourself. You didn't act. You didn't. And then those same energies or same souls will come and play that out exactly the same, right? So it's like the law of similars or the law of opposites. And so this is what so many souls have been dealing with, is these karmic energies coming up, the bloom. This is our opportunity to set ourselves free. But while you're in that battle, it's so lonely and isolating and confusing. And so anyway, that's why we're here, to support each other through these very epic times, trying to set us free, because Aries wants to be free more than anything else. And so we are freeing the chains of the self now. Isn't that profound with all of this Capricorn energy? Because Capricorn represents authoritarian and other physical structures of our world, and Chiron and Aries is like, because the real truth that you come to ultimately is that there is no power outside of you that's more powerful than who you are. And yet we are complicit. We agreed to give our power away, and now it's time to take it back. But that requires quite a lot of kind of going through all of these experiences from these past lives where we've given our power away, make sure that we can feel safe in our own autonomy. So very powerful moment today. And the other thing that's happening exact, just to add to the list of, we've got Jupiter still in that square with Chiron, and Chiron turning direct, saying it's a new chapter in healing, man. It's time. It's time to break the chains if you're ready. And then Pluto and Venus. Venus is exact with Pluto today. We've been feeling Pluto with Saturn for the last 3, 4, 5 days. And they're still close, right? Venus has now made its journey over to the Pluto side. It's kind of Venus, Venus, it's interesting because Venus is the ruler of Libra, right? Which is about balance and justice and seeing both sides of the story. And it's kind of like, okay, these big planets are coming together, and little Venus is in there kind of being like, okay, what do you think, Saturn? And then, okay, well, what do you think, Pluto? Can we work this out? And telling us, informing us, supporting us, and harmonizing this Saturn-Pluto conjunction. But it's also got a really intense, big energy. Like, this is so big, this time we live in. And there's no getting out of it. There's no rests. It's like in the last few years of astrology, it's always like, well, when we get through this, right? And it's like, well, it's only going to get more intense, right? And so we've got to find that peace, that presence in the moment, in these intensities. And Venus with Pluto is saying it's okay to go ahead and break down the old structures that aren't serving us anymore, especially around our archetypes and belief systems of the feminine. There's this empowered feminine, the disempowered sensitive soul, and recognizing that that is our greatest power, actually. Our sensitivity represents our spiritual evolution. And this whole world has told us it's something weak, it's something bad, it's something shameful. And it's our greatest strength. So Venus is getting an overhaul, and as well as Pluto's getting informed by Venus. And it is the official start now of this Pluto-Saturn conjunction. They're getting closer and closer. By the end of the year, they'll be 1 degree apart. And Venus is kind of wanting to harmonize this, speak to us about it, say, hey, you guys, pay attention because this is pretty epic, right? So here we are. The other thing that is exact tomorrow is exact Mars in trine to Neptune, very supportive energy of moving in new directions, busting through delusions of what got stirred up during that Mercury retrograde in Scorpio. Now Mars in Scorpio in trine to Neptune, saying, hey, let's go ahead and move out of this. Let's face our delusions, and let's, but of course it's got this energy of moving through the stuck emotions and the stuck energies. But then of course there's mudslinging going around, and very emotional. Let those tears come. Let that energy wash out of your field. These souls are carrying so much energy and emotions that they haven't addressed, and that has to do with a lot of other people in the collective a lot of times. And so just like cry those tears, move that energy, whatever helps you. Mars really likes to get active, move the body, be physical, And so that can be really helpful at this time. And so let's go ahead and tap into this energy. The other thing, the most beautiful thing that's happening right now, it's hard to talk about because there's so much other stuff going on, but Jupiter is easing off of that square with Chiron, and then of course coming right into this trine with Uranus. And this is a beautiful energy of like almost like twinkling stars saying, hey, you guys, this is so much bigger than what you're seeing. Don't forget that we're in a shift of ages and you get to be here for this. And this is an amazing new paradigm landing and you're a part of it, So underneath all of the psychic healing and the intensity and the bigness, there's that kind of a message of hope. So let's go ahead and find that presence within all of this intensity. So go ahead and feel yourself arrive right here, right now, just sinking in, taking a few deep breaths, feeling yourself connect with Mother Earth. On an exhale, just putting down a root system, feeling yourself just sinking in. And go ahead and approaching that sacred space you've been building for yourself on the astral plane, this sacred temple or hut or igloo or teepee or yurt. Just this beautiful sacred space that you have been creating just for your peace and presence. It's a place where you can leave everything outside the door, know it will be there if you want to pick it back up, but you're approaching this sacred space, this place of presence. And as you get closer to this sacred space, just go ahead and drop the ill-fitting clothing, representing the stories of who you've been told that you are, the stories that got interrupted in past lives that you're still trying to complete. Let's just drop all that at the door. All of the worries of the past or concerns of the future, the problems of your problems, the problems of other people you might be working on, the problems of the collective. Just give yourself a little break from all of that. Just imagine that there's an area right outside this sacred hut and that you can drop all of those stories. And inside there's a warm, glowing fire representing your true self. And this is an opportunity. This is really the only way we can reach our true self, is when we can come into the presence of the moment. And so just preparing for that. Also leave your shoes representing the paths you've walked, the roles you've played, the official definitions of who you are and the labels of this world. Just leave your shoes, drop off everything else, any baggage represented by these trappings of things that you carry that are things you experience, but not necessarily who you really are. And that's kind of where we've gotten stuck. We've been identifying with our stories rather than, and those stories are the main thing. They were interrupted and unfinished, right? And so but we keep trying to run them and finish them. It's kind of like those bad relationships that you can't get closure, and so it's time now to just put that all aside so you can take a moment, just 5 minutes to yourself, and go ahead and just putting all that down, preparing yourself. I see a beautiful energy representing your higher self there at the door, greeting you, perhaps with a smudge, sacred plant, ally, helper, just helping you clear your aura, clear all of the garbage, all of the past and future energies and concerns and worries, and just go ahead and step through to this sacred space and find your place in front of this sacred fire, representing this true essential self you thought maybe you disconnected with or didn't exist or had gone out. It's never gone out. You can't actually lose it. You can just think you lost it. And look at the beauty of this fire. This fire has been here from the beginning of time and cannot be destroyed. The sacred fire represents you and the truth of who you are traveling through these lifetimes. Your greatest hope and dreams for your expression in this world and your gifts. And go ahead and just gaze into that fire and receive an energetic wave to remember and reset your energy to who you really are. And just deep grounding cord. As soon as we come into our essential self energy, we have a tendency to jump off of the earth because we've been trained and programmed to think that we can be here on the planet as we're pretending to be something different than who we are. This is the Chiron and Aries wounds. But once you're who you really are, it's not safe here, but that's a lie. So go ahead and just with an exhale, putting down that root system, sinking in. This is your sacred space. And just rest there. Feel the periphery, the door of this building protected by your highest self. And you can relax and release and arrive right here, right now. The beauty of your true essence before you, to remember, to gaze into, and to enjoy. The more we connect to our true essential self, the more we enjoy our life. Not because things are going well or not, just because we have this amazing energy available to us that we forgot. We're trying to get this energy from all the things around us. And here it is, always been here, right inside. And just feeling yourself rest and release and relax. Deeper and deeper into this now moment. Taking a few deep breaths, imagining you can breathe in this true essence of who you are. Remembering, receiving, and just resting in this now moment. And go ahead and remind yourself that this sacred lodge or space is always available to you. It can represent your peace and presence in your energetic field that you can always visit throughout your day. Every day strengthening this sacred space until you walk with this wherever you go. And just staying here as long as you would like in this peace and presence, sacred, safe space. Perhaps you'd like to pause the video and just breathing in air, light, prana, and this essence, life essence. What does it look like for you to live more true to your essence? And remembering this sacred space is here for you whenever you have a few moments in your day. And just taking a few deep breaths, coming back into your everyday awareness as you're ready, taking your time, bringing with you this peace. And when you're ready, go ahead and complete your meditation. Well, thank you so much for joining me for day 13 of 21 Days of Presence. We're entering into the next chapter of this experience. And I'm so glad we're here together for it. So I look forward to seeing you soon, tomorrow, day 14. Until then, I'm Adrienne Elise. Namaste.